For those of you who haven't tuned into the Natural Bodybuilding podcast, it is available on Patreon. I have the link in the description, and for $5 a month, you can tune into the podcast. And for $20 a month, you can tune into all the back episodes that I've done. I'm at episode 21 now, and there's lots of great information in there, along with just behind the scenes type information and stuff that's going on as I film these videos and as I deal with life, you know? So if you're interested in this sort of thing, just go to the link in the description. Mountain.
Train the muscles, not the joints.
Welcome back to Natural Bodybuilding.
Mountain.
You can't see my muscles, right? So I just assure you that they're very large, but I don't show them to anybody. That's the way the YouTube comment section works. So I decided to find my own way to do it on video. So today I'm going to answer a question as I freeze my bollocks off outside. I'm going to answer a question about lifting heavy. And somebody in the comments said, Jason, is it okay to lift like 1 rep sets? And the first thing that I said, of course, is that that's not really a great way to train, assuming that the 1 rep is the 1 rep maximum, right? But this person came back to me and said, no, I'm talking about training with 1 rep sets for 85% of my maximum lift and doing multiple sets or multiple 1 rep sets. And so I'm going to say that that is not a bad strategy to do. It's not something that I would say is the best strategy for hypertrophy, of course, but for coordination and to make sure that you can really refine that groove and at the same time be a little bit safer on the joints, or at least a little bit more conservative as far as not tearing yourself down so aggressively. I think this is a good method, meaning that when you're using heavy weight, going to failure, especially when you're using weight that is a 4 rep set max, so say you can only do 4 reps with a certain weight, if you're going to failure with that weight, you are taking a risk as far as injury goes, because once you fatigue, that's when your form deviates, or you lose your balance a little bit, or you lose your groove, and that's where injuries occur a lot of the times. It's not usually when everything is working properly as far as you have your groove set and everything's comfortable, right? So a lot of powerlifters use this technique where they will use a heavy weight, but they'll do multiple sets, but they're not hitting close to failure because they don't want muscular fatigue to impede their ability to be coordinated. And at the same time, they want to refine their groove by firing the nervous system hard, but not having the tissue limitation limit their sets. Because the tissue is going to get beaten down over time of lifting heavy, but at the same time, that's not the primary focus. The primary focus is refining the groove and firing the muscle as hard as possible repeatedly, but you don't want to take the risk of injury by losing coordination once you experience fatigue, you see? So if you're lifting heavy, especially when you're using weights that you can only lift for 5 reps or 6 reps or below, I highly recommend keeping a rep or 2 in the tank if you're lifting in those intensities or lifting intensities or weights, because what's happening is that you're putting a supreme load on the body. And I found that when you hit failure, your risk of injury goes up quite a bit when you're using heavy weight like that, you know, because that's usually when something goes wrong, is when fatigue hits. So here I'm going to show you how I warm up and how I go decently heavy on my bench press routine. Now I'm only going up to 275, but I am doing a higher amount of reps. I'm not doing the 1 rep sets here, but I thought it'd just be useful just to show you how I usually do it. Now, from time to time I do go heavier, but at the same time, I find a medium heavy weight seems to work best for me. And at the same time, I'm also playing in the background my new song called Tribal Warrior. So enjoy as I take you through part of my bench press workout, just so you can get an idea of what I'm doing. So I can honestly say I've never tried the method of using like 85 or 90% of my 1 rep max for 1 rep sets. I wouldn't really recommend that as a general rule for bodybuilding. I don't really think that you're getting enough volume from that. But as far as refining the groove and getting used to heavy weight, maybe it's something to try or experiment with, but you want to always do it safely, because once again, once you're working with super heavy weight, you know, the risk of injury does go up. So yeah, that's really my 2 cents on that. If you're going to be lifting heavyweight, if you're going to be lifting heavyweights, meaning sets where you get to failure for 5 or 6 reps and below, I would recommend at least keeping 1 or more reps in the tank in the set. So don't hit absolute failure during your sets. You could do multiple sets, but don't hit absolute failure, because I find that's where the risk of injury goes up. And once you start to perform a weight that you can only get 2 reps with, but you're doing multiple sets of 1 rep, I think you're starting to kind of play with fire there a little bit. It can be pretty risky, and I'm not really sure if it's really going to be a conducive method for you to get greater results in the long run, especially because the risk of injury's gone up quite exponentially, right? But this depends on you. Not everybody is as sensitive to injuries. Not everybody has the same injury threshold, but it's something to bear in mind, or at least to pay attention to if you do start to experiment with this method of training. In the very least though, I would recommend, if you do this, to not do it for long periods of time, because you will burn out fast, because you are using high percentages of your 1 rep max. So you're using a lot of let's just say nervous system burden, because you are burdening the nervous system and the immune system a lot because of all the straining and because of using such a high percentage of your 1 rep max. So yeah, that's really what I would say about that. So I hope this helps out in your training. Thanks a lot for watching. If you need to get hold of me, just go to naturalbodybuilding.com, and take care for now. Natural Land.